Okay, so I just got actually, I didn't just get this email. I had this email for a little bit and I didn't see it. I apologize. It was an Ask HershNoeie question. It was mainly Ask Hirsch. So I'm not going to mention the person's name. I try not to unless it's something that's really kind of benign, but something that's kind of a sensitive topic or what I may deem as kind of sensitive. I don't mention people's screen names or real names or anything like that, right? Because it's just not cool. But this person wrote me a little bit ago, and they were talking about the videos I've done and kind of their circumstances. And it's a fairly detailed, long email. Um, but what some of the videos that I've done that talked about what young black men should do in terms of their life and just guidance, kind of, or I don't know if it's necessarily guidance, but kind of things to consider. This individual had seen those videos and they really liked them. So they were talking about, that they had seen the video and the different videos that I did and said that it was really helpful, good advice. And one of the big questions that they had was they're concerned if they're ever going to get, there's a garbage truck now. Sorry, it's going to be kind of loud. And an airplane's flying over. But their big issue was if they were ever going to become successful. He's a young black male as well. He's 26. And he says that where he lives is a fairly urban city. He then later on mentions the name of that city. I'm not going to mention the name of the city, and there's a reason for this that will make sense maybe a little bit later. But his main thing was that he did all the right things. He went to college, graduated, and right prior to actually going into his profession, family issues happened. And so he had to end up moving back home to take care of that family member. And so he delayed his career for a little bit. So he was basically saying he appreciated all the things that I mentioned because those are things to consider. And that once everything gets straightened out at home, he would like to apply some of those things because he didn't really have that guidance growing up. So that's really cool because I didn't really have that guidance either. And again, the only reason why I came up with some of the stuff I did is because of just life and getting old. But anyhow, his big thing was that he is back in his old neighborhood. He has been there for a little bit, and he is a virgin. Okay, he's a 26-year-old virgin. And he's like, and it's hard to deal with that because you see all of your friends and that type of thing. And it's not something that he discusses with them. But at the same time, he doesn't know what to do because there's a lot of women there that show interest in his neighborhood, his town. They show interest, and he's wondering if that's what he should he just give on in and go for it. He wasn't saving himself for any particular reason. It wasn't for religious reasons or anything like that. He just was busy with school and with life, and that he never happened. Later on, says he has had girlfriends, but nothing that lasted beyond a few months. The most at one time was 8 months. Okay, and then it goes on, and there's more. And some of that I was just shrinking down because I read this email a few times. Let me first say that you should never feel bad about being a virgin, right? This is just kind of my, and now did I now what if I was back at that age, would I have felt the same way? Probably not. At 41, looking back, there's nothing wrong with being 26 and a man or a woman and being a virgin. There's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that you actually are a virgin because you were trying to better yourself, going to school, and that type of thing. And it seems like later on in the email, he does talk about how he did have jobs. But as far as his actual career, he didn't get into that yet because was happening. But the fact that you actually were going to college, the career choice you chose looks good. excuse me. I mean, you need to get some experience probably to get into that career choice. But given the fact that you were doing all those things and that you didn't get around to, you know, doing the thing, I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't see that as a bad thing. And to be honest with you, I don't think that you are this rare unicorn. I'm not trying to belittle you or anything like that. There are a lot of black men out here who are virgins and they don't want to admit that. And there's a lot who, and we're talking more younger, right? I'm talking like 25, 26, 25 and younger. And there are a load of them that don't have children. There are more who don't have children than do. But society wants you to believe differently. And, when you see stuff and all the stats and stuff, and they want you to believe that most black men have kids, it's just not true. Or they have kids all over the place. It's just not true. There's some bad apples who end up having kids by several different people. And so that bad apple makes the whole lot look bad. And so if in your neighborhood you have some of those bad apples who are basically running around talking about, oh, I got such and such, oh, blah, 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 don't let that influence you. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. Don't let that influence you. To me, I'm just going to talk about myself for a little bit. I did not have kids until I knew that I was going to be with someone, and this was someone I was going to be with for the rest of my life. In fact, I was married before and didn't have kids because it felt like in that marriage that things didn't quite seem right. There was, like with Noelle, I can see the future. I can sit here and talk about, well, 10 years, I can see this happening, and even Noelle today, we're on the phone talking. She was like, well, in 5 years, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. I couldn't even do that in my past marriage, my previous marriage. I couldn't see beyond that week. I was trying to just make it to the week. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a completely different person than I was then, and I'm much older. But I couldn't see it. So I couldn't see myself having a kid in an environment like that where I couldn't even see beyond a week. So for me, it was later in life, and I sit and think about that. Like, man, I added up. Like, when Zoe's this age, I'll be this age. Or when Zeta's this age, man, I'll be this age. But to be honest with you, I know I have friends who are older than me that have kids that are younger than mine. That's completely okay. And in those circumstances, those men are similar to you. Not that they were virgins until they were in their, I don't know. But they basically are similar to me too. They waited later, if you can call it that, in life, and got married and have kids. Right? There's nothing at all wrong with that. I mean, there are people who have, and I'm not trying to people who have had kids and they're not married or anything like that or whatever. I'm not trying to belittle them or to or to speak negative about that. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm talking about is that there's nothing wrong with the fact that that things progress later, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So to answer your question, should you just go ahead and kind of just settle and cave in to the local girls or neighborhood women that are there and they're like, oh, I would say no. And the reason why I would say no is because when people see, and this is something I notice now, when people see that you're successful, they want to be around that, right? When you start to show success, and it's not something that is like it's a part of you, right? Like it's truly a part of you. When people see that, they want to latch onto it because for one, they want to get out of their environment. For two, they want to be a part of someone who's positive. All of those types of things. My thing is that when you've already made it this far, I would not entertain it. It'd be different if you're in a relationship with a person and then you go ahead and do it. But to just say, well, I haven't done this yet, so This girl over here keeps talking to me, and she shows interest, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Do what you want to, but I think things come with a risk. Obviously, protect yourself. I've always said that. I think in that video that you were referencing, I think I mentioned that. Make sure you protect yourself. Wear protection. Like, really wear protection, because you don't want to end up having a kid and be in a circumstance where that's going to limit you. And I can honestly say that I have 3 kids, all with Noelle, and I can tell you that even with both of us, and just life has changed so drastically. And when you're responsible, and it seems like from just reading your story, you seem like you're a very responsible person. When you're very responsible like that, you dedicate a tremendous amount of time to your kids. You just do. And I think that if you make the mistake, and I know some people say that's a little bit overkill, you can't even have fun. Do as you please. But if it were me, I would, if I had survived 26 years and didn't have sex, I would basically continue that path until I found someone who was really worth it. We tell girls, and rightfully so, that, respect yourself, respect your body, treat it as a temple. We don't tell boys that. I think that that's also true too. Nothing wrong with for those who've had sex when they were younger than that, whatever, right? But I think in your circumstance, something that you now take pride in, and you should, I think that you should hold on to that and only give something like that to someone that's worth it. And it sounds like from what you're describing, because for the audience, he goes into a lot of detail and talking about some of these individuals and the different things, and that he just seems unsure. He seems like, I need to get this out of the way type thing, as opposed to this is something that I naturally feel is needed. And to me, I think that's when people make mistakes, right? This is not a game, and it's not something where you have to say, let me just keep up with everybody else type of thing. I think that when you feel the person that you're with is worth it, then that is what you should do. But I wouldn't just go around and just say, well, let me solve this problem or solve this issue, because I don't see it as a problem or an issue. I see it as being a product of someone who really and truly is very valuable. And as a result of that, you're going to have a lot of people who will try to gravitate to that, because they don't have to deal with all the baggage. The dudes that you're referring to in this email carry a lot of baggage. They don't want to say that, but they do. They carry a lot of baggage. And there are women who see the bags that these guys carry. So, they have a whole bunch of suitcases around them. So, and you have none, right? You don't have any. So that is the reason why that you're appealing, right? You can't blame people for saying, yeah, great catch. You are. But at the same time, I would not even entertain it. What I would do is focus, be greedy, be selfish. As I said in the video, be selfish. Be selfish. Focus on you. Don't focus on anything else. You said the next thing you wanted to do was focus on your career. That's exactly what I would do, is focus on my career. You did the right thing, given the circumstances, taking care of a family member. That was the right thing to do. But I think that now that seems to be working itself out, that you should focus on, and you had mentioned that you were going to leave that city and go to a different city and work on your career. That's your call. And I know that you struggle with that because you don't want to leave that family member, and I can relate to that because, with my mom and me moving all the way out here, I can relate to that. But I think, and so you have to figure that piece out, what's going to be the best. But I can say for sure, I would focus hard on your career, because that's what you went to school with. And at that point in time, then you can sort out the details. One of the things my mom told me is that, and basically what some people will say today is, you want to bat at the same average. You want to bat at the same type of average, right? My mom said you don't want to be with someone who has never achieved anything and you've achieved a lot, right? And she was saying that because she really and truly didn't want me to be taken advantage of. Not saying that someone who hasn't achieved what you have is going to do that necessarily, but the chances of you having a person who is also career minded and did all those things, same things too, and they're also at a professional job, to me that would be a better recipe for you. I'm just saying. Now this may be offensive to some people, and I hope not. I'm not trying to be. But if it were me, I would go for someone who has similar traits. Because if you do that, you can relate. One of the reasons why when I was out here dating, I wanted someone who was college educated and all of that wasn't because I feel that that person's better than someone who didn't go get a college degree, but it was because I've done that. And so I'm able to, that's another thing in common that we can talk about, right? That's another part of that where we can relate and talk about, oh, the struggles of school, or, oh, did you have, oftentimes Noelle and I talk about that. What program did you have? Oh, did you guys do this and do that and blah blah blah. Like, that's another piece of connectivity, and I think that's very important. So to me personally, that's what I would do. I would focus on yourself exclusively and be very selfish and very greedy, because there's going to come a point in time where you can't do that. Now I can't be so. I can't. Noelle can't. Noelle and I, we don't even get to spend time together really. So, there comes a time where you're not going to have the flexibility that you have. So focus on that career. You're still a young person, really young. I know people who didn't have their first kid, this one guy, until he was like, 35, I believe. I know people who are older, who are 40 when I'm not saying you have to wait that long, but just understand it's not a rushed thing. Don't feel like you're behind just because, you're a virgin and you haven't started your career and all that. No. It's perfectly normal. I think that you should focus on that career and then focus on a relationship with someone who can truly value that and that you value, and then go from there. I think that some of the things I mentioned in the videos I did that talked about, young black men, I think, yeah, definitely follow, and I'm not saying follow it to a T or follow it to a letter or anything like that. I think you should pick. This is a time when cherry picking is a good idea. Cherry pick the things that really can work for you. But no, I would not. I would say thanks, but no thanks to the people who, try to entertain that, unless you truly feel, from what you're saying, it doesn't seem like you truly want to have a relationship with these ladies. But if you feel like there's a potential prospect there, then go for it. But from what you're saying, it doesn't seem like there is, and I wouldn't just say, well, this is what's in front of me, so I'm just going to go ahead. I wouldn't do that. Especially given the first person that you mentioned. And again, I'm not going to talk about their circumstance or detail because I don't want to do that. But given what you said about the first person, who seems like an okay person, I definitely wouldn't. That's just me personally. And you know what I'm talking about, but I definitely wouldn't. So I would say, don't worry about it. Continue to support your family member that is going through some things, and then when that is definitely solved, focus on you. Whether you move to that other city or stay in your local city, both are big cities, and the career that you've chosen, you'll be fine in either way you go. You'll probably make more in the other one, and I can see that. But I think that is what should be your primary focus. And I would say that to anybody. People have said, what about girls? I'd say the same thing. If you're a young black female and like, oh, well, I haven't done this, that, or this or that yet, and I'm, there's not a timeline. I think for women, if you're wanting to have kids, yeah, that's something that, obviously you have to consider. But I don't think that anyone should rush something just because they feel like, oh, this is the next step or this is what I'm supposed to do. No. I think that you work at what you need to work at and get to where you got to go, but don't just settle. You never should just settle. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I answered your questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me. If you guys have any Ask HershNoeie questions, make sure you email us at meetthewilsons2k10@gmail.com. It's actually on our YouTube page. You'll see the email link. It's also down in the description box as well. Hope you guys are having a great week. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.